My MIL always said, "You'll never be the matriarch. This family's not yours." So I waited. And when she got sick, I was the one who managed her care, her bills, her estate. She rewrote her will 3 days before she died. Left everything to me. Her daughter screamed at the funeral. I just sat quietly and said, she finally chose the woman who stayed when everyone else vanished. I'm Hannah. I'm 41 now. This started when I was 26 and newly married to a man named Scott. We lived in a small town near Asheville, North Carolina. I taught third grade at the local elementary school. Scott taught high school history. We met at a school training seminar in Raleigh. He was polite, funny in that dry, teacher way, and looked like someone you'd trust to fix your car or help you carry a heavy box. We got married less than 2 years later. His mom, Dolores, never liked me. I saw it right away. The first time I met her, she barely looked at me. Just raised an eyebrow and said, "So you're the one?" Like I was a mistake someone made at the grocery store. She had this cold, controlled way of speaking. Every word she said felt like it came out after she weighed it carefully, like a chess move. She wore expensive perfume, carried herself like a queen, and acted like everyone in the room should thank her for letting them breathe the same air. She made it clear from the beginning, I wasn't part of her family. Not really. "You'll never be the matriarch," she told me once, right after Thanksgiving dinner. She smiled when she said it, like it was a compliment. "This family isn't yours. Don't get comfortable." She said stuff like that all the time in little ways. She'd host Sunday dinners and forget to invite me. Or she'd give Scott a birthday gift and say, "This is from the family," but there was never a card from me included. At Christmas, she gave me one of those drugstore bath gift sets with the price tag still on it while everyone else got expensive custom stuff. And if I said anything, Scott would just sigh and say, "She doesn't mean anything by it." But she did. She meant every word. Scott wasn't cruel. He just wasn't brave. He'd never stand up to her. Not for me. Not even when I got pregnant. When Ellie was born, I hoped maybe things would change. They didn't. Dolores came over, held Ellie like she was the second coming, and then told me I should try harder to lose the baby weight. "She's got my eyes," she said to Scott, loud enough for me to hear, not like her mother. Still, I tried to keep peace. I smiled. I let her come over. I said yes when she invited Scott and Ellie to her place even when I wasn't welcome. I thought I was doing what good daughters-in-law do. I was wrong. Then Dolores got sick. She was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer at 73, the kind that moves fast. She was strong one day and in a wheelchair 3 weeks later. It hit her like a truck. Allison, Scott's sister, flew in from Charleston when they got the diagnosis. Cried like it was her own funeral. Told everyone she'd move mountains for her mama. Promised she'd be back every weekend. She left 2 days later. We didn't see her again for 5 months. Scott was working long hours. He'd just gotten promoted to assistant principal, and it was all new. He said he couldn't take time off. He said Dolores wouldn't want him to drop everything. So I did it. I made the doctor appointments. I took her to chemo. I cleaned her wounds. I held her up when she was too weak to walk. I changed her sheets at 3 a.m. when the pain medicine made her throw up. I washed her clothes. I made her soft food. I stayed up all night watching her breathe when she was scared to sleep. She never said thank you. Not at first. Just kept criticizing. "The soup is too bland. You put the pillows wrong." That nurse looked at me funny, "Are you sure she's qualified?" But I kept showing up. Something shifted after the 3rd month. It was after a hard day when she couldn't stop crying because she couldn't lift her hand to brush her hair. I brushed it for her. I sat on the floor next to her and just said, "I'm not going anywhere." She didn't say anything. But after that, she stopped making snide remarks. She let me sit with her in silence. She asked me to help her write a list of things she wanted done after she died. She even let me read her mail to her. One morning, she said, "Call the lawyer." I thought she was updating her will. I assumed she'd be leaving everything to Allison or to Scott. I didn't ask questions. I just made the call. The lawyer came to the house that Friday. They shut the door. I sat outside the room with a glass of water, listening to the muffled sounds of their voices. The lawyer left without saying a word to me. That night, she looked at me and said, "I changed it. It's all going to you. Don't let them shame you for it." 3 days later, she died. We had the funeral the next Saturday. Big church. Packed pews. Everyone came out. Allison showed up late, all in black, sobbing louder than the organ. I kept quiet. I read the eulogy Dolores asked me to write. I told the truth. I didn't sugarcoat it. I said she was tough, proud, hard to know, and harder to please, but she was never weak, not even at the end. I said she taught me the power of staying. After the service, we went back to the house for food. Allison cornered the lawyer in the hallway. When she heard about the will, she screamed like someone had set her on fire. She was sick. "You tricked her," she shouted. "This isn't legal." She didn't know what she was doing. That bitch manipulated her. Everyone stared. I just sat on the couch, sipping sweet tea, and said, "She finally chose the woman who stayed when everyone else vanished." She tried to sue, but Dolores had made everything airtight. Every signature, every instruction, every detail was clear. Allison didn't win. Scott didn't fight it. He just stayed quiet, like he always did. And now I live in the house Dolores once told me I didn't belong in. I manage the family trust she said I'd never touch. I carry the keys to a life she swore I'd never deserve. Funny thing is, I didn't steal it. I earned it. Every minute of it. After the will was settled and the dust from the funeral had barely cleared, things didn't calm down like I thought they would. If anything, they got louder, but in sneakier ways. Allison stopped yelling in public, but behind closed doors, she went into attack mode. She called everyone family friends, church ladies, old neighbors, spreading her version of the story. That I brainwashed her mother. That I isolated her. That I stole what was rightfully hers. At first, it was just gossip. But then people started acting different around me. The grocery store clerk I used to chat with every Thursday barely looked at me. The pastor's wife from Dolores Church stopped inviting me to charity events. Even Ellie's Sunday school teacher told me she was praying for me to find my way back to the truth. Scott didn't help. He said he was stuck in the middle. Told me, try to see it from her side. Her side? She lived 3 states away, showed up twice in a year, and screamed at the funeral like it was a performance. But I didn't argue. I was too tired to fight 2 battles at once. The real twist came 6 months later. One afternoon, I came home from work to find a certified letter in the mailbox. A claim against Dolores' estate. Not from Allison. This time it was from an old friend of Dolores, someone named Judith Kessler. Said Dolores promised her a piece of land back in the 80s, and she wanted it now. Said I had no right to it. I'd never even heard of this woman. The land in question? It was the 5-acre lot behind the main house. The one I was planning to sell to help pay for Ellie's college in a few years. Turns out, Dolores had co-signed a sketchy agreement in 1986, one that didn't go through at the time, but now this woman had a notarized copy. The timing was no accident. Allison was behind it. I found out later she'd reached out to Judith, told her Dolores had died, told her she should claim what was hers before the gold digger sold it off. My lawyer said the claim might hold up. Even if it didn't, fighting it would take time and money I didn't have. So I had to settle. I gave up half the land just to make the lawsuit go away. It stung. Dolores had handed me everything, and now pieces of it were slipping through my fingers. I thought Scott would be angry on my behalf. He wasn't. He said, "You should have expected this. You knew how Allison was." I looked him straight in the eye and said, "And you still let her run her mouth while I changed your mother's bedpans." We stopped sleeping in the same bed that week. It wasn't just the lawsuit. Things around the house started going weird. Ellie's bike disappeared from the garage. Packages were opened before I brought them in. Then one day, I came home and the front door was unlocked. Nothing was taken, but everything felt touched. I changed the locks that night. The next morning, I got a message on Facebook. No name, just a new account with no photo. The message said, "She may have left you the house. Doesn't mean we won't take it back." I saved it, took screenshots, sent it to the police. They couldn't trace it. Said it wasn't a direct threat. I started sleeping with a baseball bat under the bed. And through all of it, Scott just faded. He came home late. Left early. Said work was intense. I didn't press him. I already knew what was coming. 2 months after the lawsuit, he told me he was moving out. Said he needed space to think. Didn't say he was going to Allison's, but I saw the suitcase in the trunk when I pulled into the driveway. It was one of the ones Dolores gave him. He moved in with his sister. Said it was temporary. That was over a year ago. Now it's just me and Ellie in this house. The one I earned with blood and time and silence. Dolores' photo still hangs in the hallway. Sometimes I think about taking it down. But then I remember everything. And I leave it right where it is. Let her watch. A few weeks after Scott moved out, I started noticing someone was watching the house. It began with little things. A parked car at the end of the block that didn't belong to any of the neighbors. Same car, different times. A blue Chevy Malibu with a cracked rear window. Sometimes it was there early in the morning. Sometimes at night. Always just sitting there. No one ever got out. Then one morning, Ellie came into the kitchen holding a small envelope. It was stuck in the screen door, she said, chewing on a piece of toast. Inside was a single photo. It was of me, sitting on the front porch with my laptop, a coffee mug in my hand. The photo was taken from the street. Zoomed in a little blurry, but clearly me. There was no note. No name. Just the photo. I filed a report. The officer said he'd keep an eye out, but we both knew there wasn't much they could do. No direct threat. No crime. Just more fear. That weekend, I bought 2 motion cameras and mounted them myself. One at the front door, one facing the driveway. The next morning, the Chevy Malibu was gone. 2 days later, the cameras were ripped off the siding. Just gone. Wires torn, plastic bits scattered across the yard like broken bird bones. I didn't sleep that night. Ellie started having nightmares. She'd crawl into bed with me around 2 a.m., shaking. Said she dreamed of someone walking through the house at night. Said they were whispering. It was about this time I decided to go through Dolores' old files. Not the ones in the estate binder. The ones in the locked chest in the attic. The one I'd never gotten around to opening. I found the key in her jewelry box. Bottom drawer, taped under a velvet tray. What I found in that chest blew everything wide open. Letters. Dozens of them. Some were between Dolores and her accountant. Some were between her and a man named Curtis Penner, someone I'd never heard of. The letters talked about a private account in Savannah. About a second set of books. About offloading property quietly. There was one that really stood out. It was from Curtis. Dated 5 years ago. It said, "D, if you want to hide the Charleston money, it has to go in someone else's name. You mentioned the daughter-in-law. That'll work if she's kept in the dark. Otherwise, Allison might blow the whole thing. I've told you before, make a clean plan. You can't control them forever. CP." I sat on the floor with that letter in my hand for a long time. What the hell had Dolores done? That's when I started putting the pieces together. Dolores hadn't just changed her will out of gratitude. She changed it because she was hiding something. And needed someone trustworthy to bury it with her. Me. I started digging. Quietly. I checked bank accounts. There was a wire transfer from 5 years ago, just under $200,000, into a trust I'd never seen before. The account was in my name. Created by Dolores. I had no memory of ever authorizing it. It was like she planted it there for a future she knew I'd be stuck cleaning up. That night, I called the lawyer who had handled the estate. I didn't tell him everything, just enough. He said I needed to tread carefully. If there was dirty money, and if it was now tied to my name, I could be liable. Then the real twist came. The next day, Allison showed up at the house. Unannounced. No warning. Just pulled into the driveway like it was still hers and rang the doorbell with the back of her knuckles like always. I didn't open the door. She yelled through the glass, "I know about Savannah. I know about the money. You think she picked you? She used you." I still didn't open. She pounded on the door again. "It's in your name. That means if the IRS starts digging, you're the one who goes down, not me." Then she got quiet. Too quiet. "I want what I'm owed," she said through the crack in the doorframe. "We can work something out. Otherwise, I'll make sure you lose everything, including your kid." She left a folder on the porch. Inside were copies of documents, bank transfers, notes, signatures, some mine, some forged, all tied to the estate. I realized right then Dolores didn't just leave me the family legacy. She left me the liability, the mess, the cover-up, and now I was holding a ticking time bomb. I sat on the couch that night holding that folder in my lap. The house was quiet, too quiet. Ellie had gone to bed early. The weight of what Dolores had done settled over me like wet cement. She didn't pick me out of love. She picked me because I was steady, quiet, reliable. Someone she could trap in her mess without raising suspicion. I should have seen it. I'd ignored all the red flags because I wanted to win. I wanted to prove to her, to Scott, to everyone, that I deserved a seat at the table. And now I was the one holding all the secrets. I didn't sleep. I spent the night reading everything in that folder. Allison had copies of letters, account statements, even a copy of my signature on that trust one never remembered signing. And then, tucked in the back, was the worst one, a letter from Dolores to her accountant, instructing him to shift the risk to me in case anything ever came back to bite them. Scott knew. There was a note from him, too, initialed with his handwriting. "Agreed, Hannah will never ask questions." I felt sick. I had been played from the start, and then I made my decision. The next morning, I took everything, the folder, the letters, the bank statements, the fake trust account info, and drove straight to a law office in Asheville. Not my lawyer. A federal white-collar crime specialist. I laid everything on his desk. "I think I've been made part of a money laundering scheme," I said. I didn't know. But I know now. He read through it all, took it seriously, and then asked me the question that changed everything. "Do you want immunity?" I said yes. I gave it all up, every name, every detail, every date. I told them how Dolores shifted money through old land deals, hidden accounts, and charity fronts. How Scott helped cover the transfers by managing funds through school contracts. How Allison tried to extort me using knowledge of the estate. I handed them everything, and I made sure I left nothing out, including my own silence. The investigation lasted 7 months. During that time, I stayed quiet. I didn't speak to Scott. I blocked Allison's number. I kept Ellie close. We lived small. We watched for shadows in the driveway again. Then the indictments came. Scott was arrested first, fraud, aiding and abetting obstruction. Turns out he'd helped forge some of the paperwork when Dolores was too sick to do it herself. His name was on 3 fake donations that never made it to their supposed charities. Allison went next. Conspiracy, extortion, and money laundering. She tried to run. They caught her in Savannah at a bank. The one where the fake trust was opened. The estate was frozen. Most of it. But the court let me keep the house because I'd cooperated and because the property itself wasn't purchased with dirty money. Everything else, the trust, the accounts, the land, was seized. It hurt. But I felt free. At the sentencing, I sat in the back row. Scott wouldn't look at me. Allison glared like she wanted to burn holes in my skull. When the judge read the terms, 4 years for Scott, 6 for Allison, I didn't smile. I didn't clap. I just stood up and walked out of the courtroom. Outside, a reporter tried to ask me questions. Did you know about the scheme the whole time? Do you feel guilty for turning in your own husband? Would you do it again? I looked her in the eye and said, I stayed. They gambled. And in the end, Dolores picked the wrong woman to manipulate. Back home, I took down Dolores' picture. I didn't hang anything in its place. The walls stayed bare. Ellie asked me once, are we the bad guys now? I told her the truth. We were. But we fixed it. And that's how I became the matriarch of a family that tried to destroy me. Not because I was the strongest, but because I was the last one left standing. The one who stayed until staying meant standing alone. And this time, I chose myself.